Welcome to Soto Creations, where we make your imagination a reality. We are jumping right into my dining room. Yes, that's a ladder because we're doing a ceiling install with balloons. Now, I'll show you what the plan was. Initially, I was going to have it go from this end all across to that corner by the window there. But because of the window, I didn't think it would look as nice, so I decided to go from this end over here above that flower frame across and in that corner of the wall right there. So that is the plan for this install. Now, if you didn't see this dining room setup, tablescape, I'll have that video link down below. I'm going to show you the command hooks I'll use to hold this balloon install in place. They're all closed in just so that the 260Qs don't slip off. So I'm going to loop it through there. I'll show you later on in the video how I do that, just to keep it all in place. So in case it tugs one way or the other, it doesn't come up. Look at that giant corn. Now I have all these foil balloons with all my harvest stuff. I'm so excited. When I got that corn, I had no idea what to do with it because I did not know how big it was gonna be. I did not pay attention. So here are all the balloons that I have to use today. I have this goldenrod color. They're all Qualitex balloons. We have the orange and we have the silk, ivory silk. And last but not the least, we have this mocha brown. Now these colors work excellent together. They're perfect for this season. I'm going to show you how I inflate everything and get all my balloons prepped for this install. If this is your first time tuning in, please consider subscribing. It really supports my channel. I provide videos about decor, the ways you can decorate for various events. So if that's something you're interested in, click that subscribe button and don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss any of the videos that we post weekly. Sometimes we do a bonus video. Now, I'm inflating these balloons different than how I usually do. If you've seen my videos, you know when I do these organic installs, I make sure my balloons are rounded. Now, this is a different design, so I'm not really picky about each balloon looking round. You'll see they all look very egg-shaped or oval, and that is perfectly fine. It works out just fine for this install. I'm making sure that each color is represented in the quad. So I have each color for the balloons that I showed you. One quad has one of each. So I'm rushing through, making sure I'm tying everything together and twisting it all as well. These colors just make me so happy and tell me it's time for Thanksgiving. Now, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday and I love it because it always reminds me of the scripture in 1 Thessalonians 5:18 that says, in everything you should give thanks, for it's the will of God for you in Christ Jesus. And to be able to pause throughout the year to just give thanks to God for all the things He does. Now, a little encouragement, no matter what we're going through, there's always a silver lining, always something to be thankful for. And when we focus on that, it helps us sometimes get through the painful situations or the difficult times we're going through. So always focus on that silver lining. Now, before I get to preaching further, getting back to this video, I told you earlier, the balloons I have are 11-inch and 5-inch, but the ivory, silk, and orange, I have an extra bag in 18 inches. So what I'm doing here is replacing some of the quads with either the ivory or the orange. I'm not putting two of the 18 inches on the same quad. So that's what you see me doing on some of them here. So some of the quads will have one big 18 and some would not, either in the orange or the ivory silk. So this is the plan. Now I'm so excited this year for Thanksgiving. I can't wait to see how the twins interact with everything and how they get along. I'm prepping my pump now for my 5-inch clusters. I decided this time to make those mini, I call them grape clusters because to me they look like grapes. So I'm going to make a couple of those, but also maybe make 2 quads in the 5 inches for each color, just to create accent, to fill in where I need to fill in. And further down the line, you'll notice that I don't really need a lot of those 5-inch quads to fill the design. They're pretty much complete. It doesn't take very much at all. Now, I thought about this design in my mind because of the fall season and all the harvest, and I just thought I would do a balloon garland with the harvest, and then my thought went to like eating, and then went to the dining room, and just one thing after another. And here we are working hard at bringing this imagination to life. So I'll show you how I put this together. Don't worry, when I get to the brown, I'll come up close so you can see, because I know sometimes it's intimidating just speeding up the video, but I don't want the video to be too long, because this was over 2 hours recording, so I had to make sure that it's efficient as well. So that's the white cluster there, and I'm just working on inflating all these balloons. With the 5 inches, I do press it down and compress the balloon a little bit, just so it's a little more rounded and not cone shaped, because for these clusters you don't want the connections where you're connecting one quad to another to show. So I do compress it just a little bit, but once I'm tying them together, you'll notice how I pull it so that they're nice and snug and you don't see hardly any gaps in between the balloons. I'm working on the yellow right now and just making sure that I get enough of each one. I try to count some of them while I go, so that at the end I just put it all together, but it's hard to inflate while you're counting and all that at the same time. So, but I like how these grape clusters just created a nice accent to the ceiling install. You see how I do that later on, how when you put that in, it just makes a huge difference. It reminds me of those berry, like the berry, all those fall berry that come with the fall foliage that you see at Michael's or Hobby Lobbies. So it's so much fun. So I have all my brown balloons and I'm coming closer to show you how I put them together. Here I have 4 quads because I like the look of 4 instead of the 6 for the cluster. So you're gonna pull, and please forgive my hands that are covered in balloon dust. So you pull one neck from one to the other, and you're going to tie. First time you pull, you're going to make sure it's nice and tight like so, but you're going to twist them around, not in the same place, and just double tie the end together. So that's what I'm going to show you there. One time and then one more knot just to hold everything in place. Now that we have those two together, you're going to find another neck, and these 5-inch balloons are pretty stretchy, so they're easy to work with. So I'll grab another one, find a neck on that quad, and I'll pretty much repeat the same thing, and I'll show you how you do it, and you can just practice. So you twist it together, pull so it's nice and snug. Make sure you go round one of the clusters, not in the same area, and just double tie. And I'll show you one more time so you can see exactly. And you see there are no spaces, you don't see any gaps at all in between. So pulling the neck, grabbing the neck from the next quad, and just tying those two together and go round the cluster, making sure it's nice and snug. Go round so that it's not tied in the same place, and just do a double knot so they don't come apart. And there you have this beautiful mocha cluster. Back in the dining room, I decided this time that it'll be easier for me to work with the ladder and do the ceiling install without this dining room table in place. But I did not think about this before my husband left. I would have asked for help to move it over, but here I am now trying to move this out of the way so it's easier for me to have access to the install. I think the hardest part was getting this arm work out, moving the ladder back and forth just to get all the balloons up on the ceiling. I wish I was 7 foot tall when I was doing this, because it would have been so much easier to just reach up and put everything in place. I'm showing you here how I looped that 260Q through the command hook, and I just do a double knot. Again, you see my balloon powdered hands, and I tie it twice so it does not come apart. So then I'll just put the command hook on the ceiling and it'll stay in place. So you don't need a very big command hook because the balloons are not that heavy, and I have 4 of these, so they should hold pretty well. I'm just putting all my command hooks, and then I'll get back to the foil balloons while these command hooks adhere to my ceiling. So I'm moving this chair out of the way as well, so it's easy to get this ceiling install done without anything in the way. So having to hold the command hooks in for 30 seconds each, get everything set up, and while it's setting, then I can do other things and come back to putting everything together. Guys, we're close to halfway through. Hang in there. The hard part is almost over, which is inflating all these balloons. The fun part is coming, fun and more time consuming part, which is designing the whole thing and assembling everything. I am inflating all the 4 balloons. I was told it's best to use a hand pump because of the pressure on the balloons that can easily pop. So I'm working my arms even further to inflate each of these pumpkins and all my harvest. You would think I actually harvested all these things, but I decide to tie 260Qs because at this point I really don't know how it's gonna hold onto the garland, but I'm just tying them, so it saves me time when it comes to assembling everything, and I'm ready to go with the full design. But you'll see later on in the video, I'll have to take all those off because I can't hang the pumpkin upside down. It did not make sense to me that way. So I'm just inflating each one, and then we'll get on to assembling the base of the garland and putting everything together. I just love Thanksgiving. I didn't know much about Thanksgiving growing up until I moved to the United States, and the fun story behind all this is the way I learned about Thanksgiving, because my first couple of Thanksgivings I spent by myself. I didn't go anywhere because I didn't have anywhere to go, but I have this huge corn that I'm trying to inflate. You could take a nap here just watching me inflate this thing. But back to my story, a lady who went to our church invited me and a few other girls to her house a few weeks before Thanksgiving to just teach us the traditions of Thanksgiving. I didn't really know her that well, but she invited a few girls, had a menu all in a folder with ingredients, all recipes printed out and put nice and neat in a folder. We did a full table setup. We cooked the turkey and the green bean casserole and everything you would make traditionally for Thanksgiving. We cooked everything with her at her home, and we had Thanksgiving dinner. That just blew me away. And ever since then, I always cook Thanksgiving and have friends over, make the same menu that she taught us years ago. It's been over 10 years now, and I still repeat that menu over and over. My favorite thing to eat is the corn casserole, and it's so many people's favorite. My sister has made that over and over. She cooks it year round, and her family loves it as well. But that's just to say, those are things that mark you, for the rest of your life, and the tradition will continue. I'm building my garland while I'm chit-chatting, telling you a little bit of my story with Thanksgiving, but I want to make somewhat of a base, so it's gonna be kind of a triangle on the end that I'm putting together. But I start off by just assembling this base. I do not want it to look smooth. That's why you see all the sizes, and it just looks so beautiful with balloons just popping out from different areas. It's harvest, and there's nothing smooth and perfect about a harvest, so I'm assembling another garland to just attach it, because it got harder to work with the other piece that was getting so long. So I'm connecting those two pieces together, and I'm looking at the garland. I noticed that the other end is thinner, and that would look nice in the corner where I moved that chair. So I'm going to attach this base. I'm calling a base there, and that base is 3 quads that I attached together, and I just made it like a T onto the longer garland that I connected. And what I'm doing now is just making that base a little bit wider to form somewhat of an upside down triangle. So that part of the wall where I put it, where the frame with the canvas with the flowers, will be wider across that wall where the canvas is. So I'm filling that base. I'll lift it up here so you can see. If I can slow it down for you to see how it looks when I'm done filling everything together. But I'm just tying the necks. There you go. I lift it up, and I think you should have another angle once we move to the dining room. So here we go, back in the dining room. That's right there. You can see that it looks like a triangle. We're just gonna move it over and work on getting everything together. I'll let you enjoy the rest of the video, and I'll pop in here and there to explain certain parts of it. When I do this first 260Q onto the wall, you'll notice once I decide to do the second piece, that corner that's closer to the camera starts sagging, and I fix that later, but it's hard for me at this point to keep moving that. See where it sags right there on the right? It's harder for me to keep moving the ladder back and forth to fix a spot. So what I decide to do here is to just continue working on getting it up on the wall, and then I'll come back to fix everything once I have it all in place. So now I'm just putting that up, looking, assessing. That's the piece right there that I have to figure out how to hold it up. So I'm gonna just put the last end at the very corner, and then we'll work our way back to that corner, to the sagging piece once we're done. See the hole in that corner? It was just planned that that big corn would fit there. You'll see how I put it later on. That corn doesn't look like the freshly harvested corn. It reminds me of the corn we roast back home, and you eat it with something we call plums that are also roasted. So delicious. So I'm adding smaller balloons. I inflated about 4 quads of the 11 inches, but slightly smaller, so they will be like a 7-inch, and it kind of narrows in that corner. Here I am putting the corn in place. I had to figure out how to get it to stay, but it did, and I love how it turned out. It just looks perfect. It does not look too big at all for this insert. I'm thankful I got it, and I didn't change my mind about using it once I got it out of the bag. So I have my little grape clusters. At first I put it here, and I don't like how it looks because it takes away from the design angling in or angling down or narrowing down. So I end up taking that out and repositioning it. With this pumpkin, I use fishing line to hold it in place because I realize at this point I can't attach them with the 260Qs I put on the end. It would be upside down. So I tie the fishing line onto the top of the foil balloon and just wrap it around that way and reposition it as I go. So that worked out a lot better. And you see me later on take out the right there, I take out the 260Q, and I'll also tape that piece down so it's not just hanging and looking ugly. I'm so happy that I did this, and so glad with how everything looked at the end. Was it what I dreamt of? Yes, and beyond. That's exactly how I wanted it to look, and it looks better than what I imagined. So I'm putting the brown cluster here, adjusting. Again, the biggest thing is placement, adjusting just so everything is where it's supposed to be. We're getting so close. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you for tuning in today. I hope you consider subscribing. That really supports my channel. I appreciate you for tuning in. Like I said, we post videos once a week, sometimes twice a week, all about decor. If you have a favorite Thanksgiving dish, make sure you comment down below and tell me what you like for Thanksgiving, and why not share a recipe with us. I just love trying out new recipes and trying out new things for the fall. If you've been watching and you haven't subscribed yet, please consider clicking that subscribe button, like the video, and share as well. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for coming in to watch the videos every week. Big thank you to my mom for watching the twins while I put this together. Don't know what I would do without her.